Hello, everyone. Meet Hasan Piker from the Young Turks. He's probably my favorite commenter over there, just because he actually does some independent research and sometimes disagrees with other panelists, which I appreciate the shit out of him for, because I've started watching a lot of their videos recently again, um, which makes this all the more disappointing. But he's got something to say to us, so let's just get into it.
Police Lives Matter is a terrorist organization that exists solely to muddy the message of the BLM movement and justify extrajudicial killings that disproportionately target people of color. There's no clearer indication of this fact than this photo taken of Officer Geronimo Yanez. If you look at Yanez's chest pocket, you can see the bloodied insurance card of recently slain Philando Castile. If you look at his right arm, you'll see that he's wearing a band from this organization. It's a band that many cops wear. Now, if what I'm saying outrages you, that's because it's meant to outrage you. Now think for a moment.
Okay. Hasan, first of all, this is clickbait. The title of this video, Police Lives Matter as a Terrorist Organization, qualifies. You put up an inflammatory title, and then you bait and switch us with, oh, think about how we feel about when you say Black Lives Matter as a terrorist organization, because that's what he's about to say. It's not the same thing, Hasan. It's just not the same thing. It's really not. Police Lives Matter, when's the last time they've, I don't know, chanted for death to black people? When has that happened? Oh, please find me a video for that. If anyone can find me a video for that, I will make an apology video linking directly to this video and just like my own fucking video, with like a big annotation that says I'm full of shit. I'll do that if someone can find me that video, because I do have a video of Black Lives Matter chanting "pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon" in a huge mob on open freeway. At least some portions of Black Lives Matter are incredibly extremist and violent, and the core group won't do anything about it. But I'm talking over him a lot already. Let's go.
Did you feel this way when you heard the same type of coverage from the right-wing pundits launched directly at black victims or Black Lives Matter?
Let's say Black Lives Matter. Okay, Black Lives Matter is a hate group. You have government officials that support groups like that call for the assassination of cops.
Now,
okay, two questions. A, why were there 4 jump cuts in the middle of his sentence? Or at least what looked like jump cuts. That's a little strange. B, he's right. I think you could classify Black Lives Matter as a hate group at this point. They've done so much, just strange things, just strange shit. I don't get it.
those are outright lies. They're shameless, they're vile, but they work to drive the conversation away from the reality. The reality that we have a problem with policing in this country. 963 instances of police taking lives of citizens in 2016 is a problem.
We're going to get to that in a second. 963 people being killed in this country. We have over 300 million people. I'm not saying that those people should have been killed, but I am saying out of 300 million people, only 963 getting shot by police. No, again, not to discount the importance of those people's lives, but we have bigger problems. We really do. And as for what he's about to say, 1 in 20 were unarmed, unarmed doesn't mean harmless. As a big dude, I can tell you, you can seriously hurt someone unarmed. Even if they have like a knife or a gun, you can still seriously hurt them if you have any inkling of what you're doing. Or if you're just a crazed lunatic, as police sometimes have to deal with. Those people that don't care whether or not they're about to die are incredibly dangerous, regardless of whether or not they're armed.
1 out of 20 of those shot being unarmed is a problem. A third of those killed were fleeing, and that is a problem.
Hasan, how many of those people that were fleeing were also harmless? Many of the people that are fleeing, I mean, really, there's only 2 reasons you would flee from the police. You've either done something wrong and you don't want to get arrested, which doesn't necessarily mean that you deserve to be shot. Let me just clarify that. That does not mean you necessarily deserve to get shot. But quite frankly, someone that knows that they're about to go in the can for life and they're trying to get away is incredibly dangerous, because they don't care what happens to anyone else in their flight. They don't care if they have to hurt someone else, if they have to take a hostage. A lot of times these people are desperate, and I would rather them get shot than go hurt someone that's innocent. Like, no offense to these people, but I care more about innocent lives than I care about anyone else's. Innocent lives matter? Anyone? No?
A quarter of those killings were black, and while black people only make up for 13% of the population, and that's a problem. The fact that...
And half of them were white. But you're not going to address that, because then you might have to start talking about per capita. Look, I don't know if you're familiar with the per capita numbers. I know you're familiar with the chants I was talking about earlier. Probably also familiar with how Black Lives Matter Toronto shut down a Toronto gay pride parade that they were the guests of honor at. How ridiculous is that? They even claim bigotry in places where they're the guests of honor. What the fuck? But you're not even going to talk about the white victims, are you? Why do you just refuse to talk about the white victims?
An unarmed black person is 5 times more likely to be shot than an unarmed white person is a problem.
Anyone getting shot unjustly is a problem. And as for well, let me just let him finish the sentence.
The fact that a black teenager is 20 times more likely to be shot and killed by the police is a problem.
First of all, that was 21. Okay. But seriously, when you're talking about black teens versus white teens, where are the black teens? And you might think, well, it doesn't matter. They shouldn't be getting shot. That's true. I agree with that. But where do all of these shootings happen? Because they're not happening in rural areas. They're not happening in, they're not concentrated in areas predominantly taken over or lived in, I guess, by white people. These shootings are all happening in extremely poor neighborhoods in cities, which is where black people happen to occupy a lot of space. So yeah, they get shot more. Yeah, they get involved with crime more, so they get arrested more. Everything else aside, it wouldn't account for 20 times. There's other things that help, fill out that number and make it more understandable, but yeah, you would expect to see an overrepresentation of blacks in these statistics. You just would. Not to the extent that they are, but again, other factors.
The fact that we have to compile this data from newspaper reports because law enforcement refuses to track it on purpose is a problem.
I'm not going to say that they're not tracking it on purpose, but I will say I actually agree with him on this one. I agree with him that we should expect law enforcement to publish those records in a, not just on public record, but in a very public way. That every time there's a shooting, it should be up for public viewing. It should be fully reported, as it were. The FBI also should track these things, because I don't trust police organizations to go, hey, we're being fully transparent now, just sweep that one under the rug. No, I don't want them doing that. We need third-party sources doing this. We need the FBI tracking it. We need the police departments reporting it. We need, investigators, journalists looking into it, making sure that everybody's keeping their shit straight. But I do agree with him here. They're funded by our tax dollars. They should be accountable.
The fact that out of all of these shootings in the past 3 years, only 13 of them were high-profile cases because of the footage. And after those 13 shootings, only 4 officers were fired, and that is a problem.
Hasan, I understand that you think you're coming from a good place here. How many of those shootings that we got on footage, that we got on tape, sorry, how many of them, again, not to discount the black victims, a lot more tapes came out for white victims. And yet not even one of them was covered as a big scandal news story. You're being fed a line by the media, Hasan, that it's just black people that suffer this problem. You're being fed a line of bullshit. And it doesn't look good.
And if you think Black Lives Matter is a hate group because they raise these issues, you're part of the problem as well.
And here's my primary problem with this video. It's not the clickbait that I really dislike. It's just the poisoning the well. Think about it this way. The people that already agree with you are going to come in, see Police Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. They're going to keep watching like, ooh, what dirt do we have on Police Lives Matter? They're going to realize it's clickbait and click off. So you haven't really engaged them. The people that are going to be clicking on this outraged are going to realize this is clickbait and click off. And if they manage to get here, they're probably just going to click off now because you're directly attacking them. Who are you trying to reach with this video? This angry condescension doesn't reach anyone. Stop it. I know you're a nice guy, Hasan. Use that. And for fuck's sake, just be honest. And I'm not saying that you're intentionally trying to lie. I'm saying you need to present all of the stats. You need to present them as unbiased as you can if you want to reach these people. You need to present the context. You need to stop using overinflated numbers like 963 people if you don't care about the white victims. If you really want to focus on the black victims, focus on the black victims. And focus on it as much as you can to make sure that your numbers are actually representing what you're trying to say. Just saying.
Because Black Lives Matter tries to get Americans to confront these issues, or at the very least, get them to acknowledge the reality African Americans face in dealing with a modern American criminal justice system.
What point was Black Lives Matter Toronto trying to make when they shut down a gay pride parade that they were the guests of honor at? What message were they trying to send there? The only thing that even happened before that could have instigated that was that the police put up a pride mural in Toronto. There's a difference between wanting judicial reform and just being anti-cop. Cops are people too. This is something that I think gets glossed over way too easily on the left. Cops are people too. And they need the same things everyone else does, including not being painted as monsters.
And yet, we have these shameless fucking lies put forward.
Black Lives Matter is not the answer. They only make things worse because their advancing narrative is killing cops.
No, Sean, you make things worse because instead of acknowledging the problem, you double down on your bigotry and push lies like this to your audience. You're a special kind of asshole, Sean. The kind who believes his own bullshit.
Okay, first of all, don't do the dramatic pause in the music. This is just ironic. He's right. I actually agree with the Black Lives Matter Ground Zero document where they lay out their well, not demands, but what they want. I agreed with that. I agree with a lot of the Black Lives Matter leadership in some of their goals. Like, I'd say 75% of their goals I actually agree with. But I don't agree with what Black Lives Matter has become. They have become an anti-cop hate group. And you can not like that all you want, but they've done nothing to call the extremists. If you don't deal with the extremists in your groups, they will take over. Because they're the ones that want it the most. It's just the truth, and they're the loudest. So everyone ends up listening to them instead of you. The whole whisper of truth is louder than a lie shouted thing, complete nonsense. It doesn't matter what's shouted. If it's being shouted, people are going to believe it.
But this issue isn't only with media. Look at the way a figurehead of the broken criminal justice system, Cowboy Sheriff Clark, refers to BLM protesters.
Then the police can show up and arrest these subhuman creeps.
Subhuman creeps is exactly the kind of language that justifies killing black people.
Why would a black man want to justify killing black people? Just curious. Because I hope you've noticed, I'm assuming you've noticed, he's black. I know that there's like a trope about, you know, race traitors or whatever in the black community. I don't think even Uncle Ruckus would advocate for just wantonly killing black people.
Clark, a public servant, by the way, not only has these thoughts, but has acted on them, forcing over 40 women in jail to give birth while chained up to their beds like animals, or allowing a mentally ill patient to die of dehydration.
Okay, he's an asshole. Fine. What does this have to do with what you're talking about? Were those people black? Somehow I don't think so. Just because if they were, I suspect you would have told me about it. You've told me about every single other black thing up to this point. I have a sneaking suspicion these people aren't black. I'll have to look into it, and I'll post a correction if I find anything. But, yeah.
While awaiting trial, innocent until proven guilty, right? Just like Philando Castile was innocent all the way up to the moment his killer pulled the trigger 7 times. Philando's killer went free yesterday. This was how he was murdered as he reached for his wallet.
I have to tell you, I do have a firearm on me. Don't reach for it then. Don't pull it out.
Can I just point out, I want everyone up to this point to look at the interaction that's happened so far. I have a firearm for me. Okay, don't reach for it. I'm not. Don't reach for it. Okay, what does that tell you Philando was doing? He may not have been reaching for his gun. This might have just been a misunderstanding, a tragic misunderstanding. But look at this cop's body language so far. He's not being aggressive. He is reaching for his gun, just in case, but he's holding it at his hip. I don't think this guy wanted to kill Philando.
Don't pull it out.
Tells him one more time, don't pull it out, and starts reaching for his gun and pulling it on him. As he reaches in, he is clearly stopping Philando from going for something. Also, what was that other cop doing? Did anyone see on the right the other cop just hopping away? And I want, because this isn't something that he shows in this video, I want everyone to be aware of something about this video. The cop actually goes on for a little bit after this, cussing, visibly upset. This cop did not want to kill Philando. He didn't. And if he knew anything about Philando, I can't blame him. Apparently he was a great guy. Apparently he was an upstanding citizen, a model member of his community. And it's unfortunate that he was killed. However, I don't think this cop was wrong.
And we only found out about this injustice last year because Philando's girlfriend recorded a video immediately after the shooting.
Unfortunately, she didn't make a video of the shooting, because that would have been much more helpful in this particular instance. We can't see anything of what he did. All we see is what the cop did from the dashcam footage and what the aftermath was. The only thing that really matters in this situation is what Philando did, because if he didn't do anything, he didn't deserve to get shot, obviously. And yet that's the only footage we unfortunately don't have. So I think it's very premature for anyone on either side to say 100% either way, this was justified or this wasn't justified. And I really don't appreciate that you're making this out to be as, oh, well, the cop obviously had no reason to shoot him. It seemed like he did. I won't say that he did for sure, but it seemed like it.
And let's go back to Sean for a second. Here's a perfect example of Sean reaching new...
Are you fucking kidding me? Sean, as in Sean Hannity. That's just low-hanging fruit. We're using him twice. Really? Let's go.
Blows as he tries to cast doubt that this shooting was anything but absolutely unjust.
The woman is live tweeting or Facebooking the images instead of helping her boyfriend. This makes no sense.
What the fuck was she supposed to do? Drive him to the hospital and get her and her daughter shot too?
No, please, no. I don't want you to get shooted.
The fact that she had the presence of mind to make a video shows how commonplace the experience of being pulled over is for black people.
Then why didn't she pull her phone out as soon as she got pulled over? Is my first question with that assertion. Second of all, I actually agree with you on the actual substance of what was she supposed to do. You're right. She couldn't drive away. There was just a murder. She can't go to the hospital. That's the police's job at that point. You're right. But again, why are we talking about Sean Hannity? Half the time he sounds somewhat reasonable. The other half he sounds like a crazy person. Like, even on the right, he's not exceptionally well respected, except for the oldest demographic, because no one watches Fox News anymore, except for very old people, not even conservatives.
The reason why Philando's girlfriend felt compelled to whip out her phone is because these instances are so often silenced by police departments. Breaking through that silence is exactly what Black Lives Matter exists to do.
She whipped out her phone because that's what people of this generation have been trained to do. If something happens, we whip out our phones. Like, you can criticize that, you can think that's good, think it's bad, but it's just true. When something happens, suddenly everybody whips out their phone thinking they can get their 15 seconds of fame on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. It's just the way we've been conditioned. This isn't like a uniquely black thing.
Your broadcast goes out to millions of Americans, Sean. Where is your sense of decency?
What exact... Hasan, this is just a complete lack of self-awareness. Where's your sense of decency in dealing with this case? What do you think this... How many millions of people is this video going to reach, Hasan? Ignoring, like, when it gets shared on Facebook, when it gets put out on videos like this, where people like me talk about it. How many millions of times have people seen your video? Basically smearing the cop. And saying, well, obviously he didn't deserve it. Obviously it was a monster that just wanted to kill a black guy. Where's your sense of decency? And again, I don't think you're a bad person. But this is kind of this is shitty. This was a shitty thing to do to this guy.
Your journalistic integrity. It's got to be dug deep somewhere next to the bar you buried for black people to be murdered. Because as Trevor Noah also mentioned, with each new killing, the bar is set lower for a black person to be killed.
Okay, that idea is just dumb. Every time one of these high-profile cases goes out, it doesn't get lower. It gets higher by quite a bit, because every time this happens, tensions get so much thicker. You think the cops want this? You think the cops want to be on the front page tabloids about how they're all evil, racist monsters? No, that's not what they want. Again, they're people too. They want pretty much the same things you do. They were raised in the same country. They do not want to become the new monster. Because look at what happens to every other cop that doesn't get thrown in prison. Or at least fired. They get harassed, they get stalked, they get death threats. I mean, and that might seem commonplace for someone on the internet, but for your average public servant, that's probably scary on many levels. And you're contributing to that right now.
As right-wing media desperately tries to find new ways to say those black victims had it coming for them, we arrive at the killing of responsible gun owner, upstanding citizen Philando Castile. Philando Castile was shot 7 times, and the bar is now set even lower.
No, it's not. And why does him being shot, like, if he was only shot once, would that be okay with you? If he was shot with half a bullet, would that be okay? Like, no, stop. I get the point you're trying to make about it being overkill, and maybe it was, but it's also meaningless. The number of times someone was shot isn't really relevant. He's dead. If he was only shot one time, he'd probably still be dead. The outcome is the same. Please stop addressing that as though it's some sort of like smoking gun of how bad this was.
You can't smoke weed. You can't even smell like weed.
Are we still talking about getting pulled over? Because yeah, you can't smoke weed. You can't smoke weed while you're driving, dude. Sorry. It's highly irresponsible. I'm not even going to comment on, you know, the morality of weed or whatever. I'll make a new video about that at some point because I think it's an interesting topic. But yeah, you can't smoke weed while you're driving, or drink, or be inebriated. Like, no drugs while driving. How's that?
You can't drive with a broken taillight.
That's correct. That will get you pulled over. You don't have to be black to get pulled over for a broken taillight. Come on, dude.
You can't be a responsible gun owner and inform the officer as the law suggests. And you definitely can't be black.
You still should inform the officer, because if you pull open your glove box looking for your ID and he sees a gun, that's worse. Honestly, when it comes to having a gun in your car, you need to inform the officer, and you need to tell him where it is. You need to tell him that you're going to get your ID out of the glove box where your gun also is. You need to be entirely transparent, because as soon as someone says, I've got a gun, you've got that cop on high alert. Whether you think that's warranted or not, different story. But that cop is probably on high alert. As for being black, that's just hyperbolic nonsense. Stop.
But I guess the bar was always set that low, which is exactly what Black Lives Matter intends to show. And getting angry at Black Lives Matter instead of acknowledging the reality they seek to highlight is like getting angry at your doctor for telling you that you have cancer. And just like cancer, the issues black people face in our broken criminal justice system are literally killing them.
That's dumb. They're not being especially targeted. This is like, if you want to say that police brutality in the system is a problem, I might be behind you on that, depending on what the stats show. But as for it being a special problem for black people, no.
I'm Hasan Piker. Please share this video.
Thank you, Hasan. And he's right. You should share this video on Facebook, on YouTube. Well, you can't share it on YouTube. Don't share this on YouTube. That's my video. Stop it. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.